as a woman who is diagnosed as an unexplained infertility patient. And I know if you are a woman who has experienced infertility or is childless not by choice, you may experience close friends or close family that have become moms or have successfully gone through fertility treatments and been able to have a child, and you feel super disconnected to those people. And maybe you might feel defeated because your dream of being a mom and this dream that you carried around for so long did not ever come true for you. Or maybe you thought being a mom would be the thing that gave you so much purpose and so much fulfillment in your life. And now you're living this new reality and you're just trying to figure out, like, how did I get here? Like, this world that I'm living in makes no sense. And you might feel like you aren't prepared for this future that's ahead of you. And so, what happens is your brain, that oftentimes is the thing that we look for to create clarity for us, creates these assumptions about what our life's going to be like if we are remain childless not by choice. And it creates a lot of judgment for us without us asking it to. Our brain automatically goes to this place that it's been trained to be. It's been trained to think that if you are a woman who wanted kids and you weren't able to have kids, that all of a sudden you are the worst case scenario, that you are the sad one in the room, that you can't relate to people around you. And when we don't know how to make sense of what is going on in our brain, we then judge ourselves and we question, like, why not me? And you feel probably like you got cheated. And I first want to say that this is all very normal. There's nothing wrong with you. But the problem is that people don't talk about these things. People don't openly share their stories. People don't openly share their struggles. And so you feel like you have to navigate this alone. And I'm going to help you manage that today. So let's first talk about some of the mistakes that people make when they become childless not by choice and why they feel so disconnected. So you might find that you blame yourself for not following your protocol correctly, that you weren't able to have a kid because you didn't take your trigger shot at exactly 4:06 a.m. when you were told to. Or maybe you were 30 minutes late taking one of your medications. And so you're telling yourself that it was you who caused this. Or maybe you heard people tell you that you should be more relaxed and you weren't relaxed enough. Because let's be honest, who can be relaxed when we're going through IVF and fertility treatments? But you might be telling yourself that it's your fault that you didn't relax enough. And so you start comparing yourself to the women or your friends or colleagues that you know that went through IVF, and you say, you know what, it makes sense that they were able to have a kid and I wasn't, because you're telling yourself that they did it right and you did it wrong. Or maybe you think it's a punishment. And maybe you're thinking that there is something that you did in your past, and you might not know what it is, but you think that you not being able to become a mom is a punishment for something that you did in your past. And maybe you believe these thoughts that your brain offers you about being childless not by choice and your inability to become a mom, and that creates separation for you between people that you love in your life. Maybe your best friend at work just found out that she is going to be a mom, and you feel so disconnected from her. It's not that you've done anything wrong or that you're not a good friend or that you're not caring and supportive and loving. It's just that your brain is designed to tell you that something's wrong with you. And that creates separation for you and people around you. And maybe, like, you just don't know where to go. And you might not be able to, like, come to grips with things, but I really want to help you get there. And I want to help you get there because I have been there. I have been that person who judged myself for feeling jealousy around a friend's pregnancy announcement, or not wanting to go to somebody's kid's first birthday party. And so I really want to help you get to a point that you can feel proud of who you are, even if you weren't able to have the children you always dreamed of. So what I first want to do is think about like comparing, because I think a lot of us compare our stories with others. So think about what you do when you're comparing. What are you feeling when you feel like when you're comparing yourself to somebody? You might feel insufficient, maybe you feel inadequate, maybe you feel broken when you're comparing yourself and your story or your outcome of childlessness to somebody else. And so when you're feeling broken, I want you to think, what are some things that you're thinking when you feel broken? What's something that you might think when you feel disconnected? Maybe something's wrong with me. I didn't do it right. My body didn't do what it was supposed to do. I mean, how many of us really think that like we have this body and just because we're a female that we are supposed to have kids? And so you tell yourself that your body didn't do what it was supposed to do. I know it's just feels so suffocating when you think that way. And so I want to tell you first that the one thing that you do have control over is how you think about yourself and how you think about your story and your circumstance of being childless, not by choice. And that's really the only thing that we can control, is what we think about ourselves. And truly, what has given so many women that I work with, and me included, the power to feel freedom and joy and love for our lives, even though we're childless, is that we tap into that power. This ability that we have to think what we want to think about ourselves. Because there is nobody who has told us that we have to believe this story that has us feeling broken and disconnected and isolated from people. But because at the end of the day, how you really want to live your life and the reality that you want to create for yourself is this experience that should feel so much better than it does. But we have decided to tell ourselves that we as women who don't have kids just don't have a choice in the matter. And I just want to know, how would you want to feel when you talk to somebody who tells you that they're having a child, or maybe when you run into somebody that you haven't seen for a long time and they ask you like, oh, did you ever end up having kids? Like, how do you want to feel about that story? Do you want to feel proud? Do you want to feel, maybe you just want to feel okay? Maybe you want to feel just less shame around your story, because I think so many of us haven't really thought, maybe you haven't even thought about the fact that you can feel differently when somebody asks you if you have any kids or how many kids you have, or if you've thought about adoption. Maybe you don't want to feel angry anymore. Maybe you want to feel at peace with those questions or about your circumstance of being childless, not by choice. And of course, I still experience these things. All this work that I've done and all these coaches that I've worked with and the hours that I have spent becoming a certified coach, I still go through some of that myself. But I have these tools that I'm able to tap into that allow me to realize that I don't have to think these thoughts forever that make me feel like I didn't do enough or I didn't follow my protocol enough. And sometimes they creep in and I notice them and I allow myself to feel them. But I've decided that I don't have to believe them. I can listen to them and just decide, you know what, not today. Or maybe there's days that I do feel bad, and that's okay too. And it's all begins with understanding the power that we have as women, whether we had our dream family or not. We have this power that nobody can take away from us, and no one talks about it in the infertility community. And that's what just blows my mind, that we have all this power that nobody tells us how to use. And that's exactly why it's so important for me to tell my story, and why I decided that feeling shameful for not being able to have kids was not as important as it is for me to tell a story that allows other women to have their eyes open, that you can actually learn something after this journey that ended up so differently than you thought it would, that I could share my story and teach you something that can help you feel proud of who you are and feel proud of your story. Like, that's why I tell my story. That's why I show up here on Facebook, whether one person is watching or 4,000 people are watching. I'll never stop telling my story because there's this freedom we have in our thoughts and our beliefs about ourselves and our journey that nobody talks about. So I may be the only one you hear this from, and I invite you to just take this in and just imagine yourself feeling free again and thriving again and feeling fulfilled, because I know you're used to that. I know that is the life that you once led before your diagnosis of infertility came your way. And I want you to know that that life is still available to you, and that life doesn't have to feel gloomy and hard and disappointing. And I want you to just pause for a moment and just, even if you close your eyes with me, and just close your eyes and imagine that freedom that you so desire to feel again, and that there's a better life for you. And so when you imagine this feeling of fulfillment, and like your life has purpose, even without kids or without you being a mom, and imagine that you created this legacy with your life that had nothing to do with how many viable pregnancies or embryos or miscarriages or any of that. Just imagine that you left this legacy behind that had nothing to do with that part of your life. And so, if there's any small part of you that feels like there's just this inkling in you where you can create a legacy that doesn't include having a child, and that you know deep in your bones that you want to thrive after your infertility journey, then I want you to stick around. And I just want you to hang out for a few moments, because I want to share something with you that will absolutely change your life. And I want to start by saying that if you're watching this, it's not by coincidence. I used to think that things randomly happened in my life and it was just luck or it was just a coincidence. But I can tell you there is just way too much that has happened in my life that I know that you watching this right now and resonating with my story, and maybe hearing someone say things that you feel and have felt silently for so long, that's not a coincidence. I believe that you called me into this space, that you just happened to be scrolling and you came across my live and you're like, oh my gosh, like, this woman is calling me. This woman is telling me my story. And that you know that there's so much that you've been dealing with alone. And to finally hear someone know what you've been feeling and resonate with what you're feeling is not a coincidence. I'm going to tell you that because there's just so much connection that I think we are not open to in our lives. So I just want to say thank you. And if you're feeling like you want to thrive and you want to feel fulfilled again without the children that you always dreamed of, then I want to tell you about my mastermind. So I started the Thrive After Infertility Mastermind because there was so much that I yearned for when I was trying to navigate my years and months after realizing that I wouldn't become a mom, and after deciding that I wasn't going to adopt, and deciding that an egg donor wasn't the right decision for me. And I decided to create something for women that I know I needed, because the women that I work with and the women in my community are women that are used to being very successful. They're used to knowing, being aware and knowing how to create a goal and achieve it, or to have a focus that they know they want to get somewhere in life, and they've just always known how to stumble every block that has been put in front of them and climb every wall that has been put in front of them. But when it came to becoming a mom, That wasn't possible. And so when I created the Thrive After Infertility Mastermind, it was to help women discover that life could be good again and life could be easy again and you could look forward to your future again, because I know that you have spent a long time believing that your best years are behind you. And you might even believe that there is just life is going to always be at 80%, and maybe there's many days you wake up feeling good but you haven't felt great in a long time. Then you need to join and hear about the Thrive After Infertility Mastermind. And let me first tell you what we do. So I created the Thrive process, and the Thrive process is, when I tell you about them, they seem super simple, and frankly they are. But if you've never experienced this opportunity to take control of your beliefs and your thoughts about your infertility, you might think, that seems a little difficult, but let me tell you, it's not. So I'm going to take you through my Thrive process. So the Thrive process, the first thing we do in step one is dropping our sad story. So I know that you're probably tired of people feeling sorry for you because you're used to being a high achiever and an overachiever. And you might feel like there's constant, like, people getting quiet around you or feeling like they need to tiptoe around you. And what we do in step one, when we reframe our sad story, is we decide that we can develop like this vision of ourselves and vision of our future. And so what I do in step one of the program is that I help you realize that you don't need a child to create a legacy. And you can live a life that expands beyond just having kids. And you'll learn how to get connected to a future that you didn't even like fathom was possible. And you'll no longer be bothered by people that show you sympathy, or when you tell them that you don't have kids, they put their hand on their chest and they say, "I'm so sorry." Like, how many times have you heard that? So in step one of the program, we drop our sad story. And then in step two, we start to reestablish connection with ourselves. So you might find yourself feeling disconnected from others, and even more so disconnected from yourself, because there's this loneliness and this belief that you have that life just didn't turn out like it was supposed to, and you just don't recognize that woman you see in the mirror because life is just so different than you thought it would be. So when we work together in the Thrive After Infertility Mastermind, I'll teach you how to reestablish that connection with yourself. And you'll see that you just can have such a fulfilling future, and I'll help you figure out how to create this desire for this life that is so much bigger than motherhood. And I know that sounds so crazy to imagine life feeling even bigger than being a mom, but it's true. And I teach you that in the Thrive After Infertility Mastermind. And then thirdly, what we do is we release this weight that we carry around of infertility. And I know it feels like this burden to wake up and just wonder what you're going to do with this next 40 years of your life. And we work through that and thrive. We don't worry about what we're going to fill our future with or what we're going to spend our days doing, because I help you get reconnected to yourself and this sense of purpose that you have. And we uncover these passions for life that seem like they've been hidden forever, and hobbies that you'll be like, my gosh, I never even imagined that I'd find myself doing this. And maybe even these gifts that you were born with that you've never even realized you had. I'll help you just figure out how to release this weight that you've been carrying around since your fertility journey ended with no kids. So if this speaks to you at all, and if you're yearning those things that I know I yearned for so long, then you'll want to apply to the Thrive After Infertility Mastermind, because Thrive After Infertility, not only does it help you create this life you love, you do it with women who have been on your journey. And I think that was something that I was so yearning for so long after my fertility journey ended without kids. Like, I just wanted to know that there was other women out there that felt this emptiness that I felt. So in the mastermind, you'll be surrounded by women who have been on this same journey. And we'll come together once a week for 12 weeks. Like for 3 months, we will just form this amazing connection and this bond and this support for one another, because it's not like a support group in the way that women show up and they're just complaining about their life. Like the women that join the Thrive After Infertility Mastermind can't wait to come on and talk about the breakthroughs that they made in their life. Like imagine hearing someone who's been on your journey share an idea of how their mind just opened up to a life that feels easy again, or maybe how they were able to handle getting a baby shower invitation for their best friend's baby shower. And they come every week and you have this time to share together about the things that worked really, really well. And also imagine having this stumbling block during the week. We have this group chain where we have this group text and people drop stuff in the text throughout the week and say, hey, I'm really struggling, or this just happened. Can you guys listen to me for a little bit? And knowing that you have this support system, and when the Thrive After Infertility Mastermind ends, that support system just keeps going. And I have seen some of the most beautiful and amazing friendships that have been created through the Thrive After Infertility Mastermind. And the greatest thing is that you'll have me in your corner, and you'll feel and you'll like feel supported and just understood, because I have lived this journey. I'm not just somebody who's talking about all this stuff without having done it myself. Like I have been in the hollows of life after infertility failed. I know how it feels to feel stuck and feel just so desiring of feeling better but not knowing where to go. Like I will be with you throughout this whole mastermind, cheering you on, listening to you, drying your tears, whatever you need. And I just want you to give yourself the permission to honor this voice inside of you and this desire that I know you have to feel better. And I know you may think that time's gonna just heal everything. I waited a long time, ladies. Like, I waited a really long time to think that all of a sudden more months and more years were going to pass on the calendar and then I would just wake up feeling great one day. And the sad part is I didn't. So when I created the Thrive After Infertility Mastermind, I did it with the mindset of knowing that I'm going to show up giving you what I needed, but also listening to what you need. I don't have this pre-set, curriculum or lesson plan. It's just the 3 steps that I talked about with you, and we personalize them to the members in the Thrive After Infertility Mastermind. I ask you what you are seeking. I don't just give you what worked for me. What worked for me may be good, it may help you, but it's more important for me to know what you're seeking and what you're looking for. And I do that in the Thrive After Infertility Mastermind. So if this at all is speaking to you, I want you to listen to this voice, because it's not by circumstance that you just happen to listen to this far into the live. I think you really know that you want to feel better, and I can help you get there. So what I did is, here on the page, I put in my link to schedule a discovery call. A discovery call is a free 45-minute call where we can just share ideas. Tell me what's been holding you back. Tell me where you're feeling like you need the most support. I'll listen. If you want me to provide any commentary, I'm happy to, but even if it's just me listening for 45 minutes, I would be so happy to give you that time and gift you that time, because I know how rare it is to have someone that you can openly talk to about your journey. Schedule a discovery call. That gives us some time to just hear your story, talk about your story. I'll share a little bit about the mastermind and see if we're a good fit to work together, because that's one thing. I have such high integrity for what I do because I know how vulnerable you feel right now. And I know that you'd probably pay $1 million to feel better, but I wouldn't take $1 million from someone that I didn't think I could help. I wouldn't take $100 from somebody that I didn't think that I could help. So that's why I have a discovery call, and I have an application process to the Thrive After Infertility Mastermind because I think it's so important for me and you to be on the same page with one another because I want you to thrive. I want you to feel fulfilled. I want you to know that your story matters and that you have a legacy that is important and will last you way beyond your lifetime. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, book a call. I would love to just hear what I can do to help you and really help you feel like life could be easy again because I know for so long I spent life feeling like really heavy and feeling like I just didn't know where to go and I didn't know who to talk to and that I was just sick of being the worst case scenario amongst my friends. So I would love to be that for you, and if I could help at all, just book a discovery call and listen to that voice because it really matters. It means something that you listen today.